I was listening to your interview on minorities in publishing with Jen Baker, and you were talking about that American Dirt moment. Because I remember that specific. I don't know if it was the first one that I really can think about, but it's one that I guess it would be the first one that kind of popped out as like one of those bookish drama moments. And you had Oprah post picking it as a book of the month, and you have the community saying like, no, this it was just a crazy time. Can you talk about that a little bit as just a creator in the space? Like, how do you kind of deal with some when those things pop up? Like, how do you kind of center yourself? How do you see like what's right? How do you
Mm.
kind of play in those spaces?
Yeah, no, I feel like the question is American Dirt was very unique.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think that we've seen the last of American Dirt, and I don't think that, and not for Latina community either. I think that we're going to continue to see books that kind of transverse that commercial literary, that commercial fiction um, phase, which is again I think a greater question of literature, right? And what a literature means and how fiction works. And I think we're not, yeah, all that to say, I don't think we're done seeing the last of American Dirt, but American Dirt was really unique in the sense that there was just a lot of misinformation, I think. Um, and it's almost like creators and reviewers in the Latina community were saying one thing, and you had, you know, typically white readers understanding and hearing another thing. You know, it went from going like, this book has elements that are stereotypical of the Latina community. Um, and it's also presenting itself as a voice for immigrants when there are people that are immigrants that are undocumented that have written their own stories and their own memoirs. So it was a lot of course trying to course correct misinformation that was used to try to propel this book as something that it wasn't. And the way that white readers was took it was like, don't read it, burn it, it's censorship, she's getting threats. And it really just it really just went, I think, a whole different way. And I think being a creator in that space at the time was really hard because it's almost like a group of, not a group, but a good amount of people that were following me, that were part of my community, sort of turned their back on me. And they turned away from me and they were like, wait a minute, we don't like what you're saying. We don't like that you're policing what we're reading or what we should and shouldn't read. And it felt really tough to be a creator at that time. I think at that time I was really like, I'm about to just, it's not worth it. I don't feel like I need to educate people, but when I was a creator in that space, centering myself, it was in a place of, I want to course correct the misinformation that you're getting. I want to give you the information that you're seeking, that you think you're seeking through this book. And it didn't turn out to be like that. So that was really tough. Um, and I think I've learned from that experience that I don't have to, I don't have to educate anyone. Like it's not my responsibility to do that. And I think at the time I just felt like I did have a responsibility to do something because I was at least one of the creators from a Latina background that had a larger platform. And so a lot of that has been like trying to navigate, like, as a creator, when I amplify something, when I center myself something, or when I just leave it alone. Because I think people will do what they will do. That's what I learned from American Dirt. And they will misinterpret you and they will twist your words. So yeah, it was very unfortunate.
no, yeah, it's also interesting just like being a creator that has a platform in the way you do, or whether it could be anything. It could be BIPOC or any other different marginalized groups that have platforms where people come to you as the voice. Like okay, what is Lupita saying? Like, how do you deal with that, or do you kind of you're
Mm.
almost we're getting into it, but just like how do you play into where you're like I know I people are looking to hear me, but I've sometimes haven't even got my full wording or full thought process on this yet, but I know people are gonna expect me to say something on it soon or something.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I don't think it gets easier. I think the more I'm learning about being online, especially as someone that has a large platform, is people always want you to speak on something, even if you think you have no expertise on it or you have no, background on it. You don't have enough, like you said, you don't have enough time to like step in and really understand, how you feel about the thing. People want you to speak on it. I don't think that I've figured out or really learned how to navigate that, other than to just try to move from a place of care, like, and concern, from within myself when I'm ready. Because I think the other side of that is just virtue signaling, right?
Yeah.
And, like, asking myself, like, when I share something, when I amplify something, like, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a place of, like, I feel indebted to people that are following me because they believe that I should be posting something or sharing something because I have a platform? Or is it coming from a place of, I really care about this thing and it's really hurting me. And, I feel like, what can we do? I feel helpless. This is the only way that I feel like I can help, and it's interesting because a lot of times when I ask myself that, when I really sit with it, I realize like, oh no, like I'm not fully somewhere where I'm supposed to be, on this thing or whatever it is. So I don't know. I think it's something that I still navigate. But the
Yeah.
biggest way to navigate it is to just ask yourself, like, where do you really stand, and letting yourself just sit in it and have time,
That's well
which is
said.
not always easy because people want, like a quick,
Instant. Yeah, they want the
yeah,
thinking, they want the thoughts, they want everything, and it does get tough for creators. So that's why I appreciate just talking to content creators, like hearing the thought process of actually, and that's why we do podcasts, where to see how creators think in these moments and how they, because when we only see a picture of, like we were kind of talking about that before we got on. It's like you only see a picture sometimes of how people think from their internet self. But when you get a podcast in long form, you get to see how people deal with just when random things come up in the world. And now people are like, all right, I need to hear your opinion. And it's like, all right, well, I'm still figuring it out. But if you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.